All right, I am back, and sorry for taking the last 8 months off or so. I guess I've had a lot to deal with, um, and just haven't really had anything to talk about. Maybe, but now I'm back with at least three different topics that I want to talk about. Um, I'll probably break it up into parts. Just so it's easier to navigate. People can skip whatever they want or things like that. So, yeah, I guess to jump into it, where the fuck have I been? Um, Mostly navigating my mental health. October was my last episode, and since then, I really had to take a hard look at my mental health, even though I've been doing all kinds of therapy for the last 2 years. Well, I guess 2.5 years now. And or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the exact time is on, I guess, this quote unquote mental health journey. But where I've actually had to like deal with my anxiety and kind of come to terms with it. Um, so I guess to start, like, because I really want to be an advocate for mental health and just I don't know, advocate maybe seems a too strong of a word or something like that, but at least someone who is visible, of who's not afraid to say, hey, look, I have problems with my head, or do, but have them under control now, and hopefully encourage other people to seek help for their mental health challenges. Um, so yeah, back in 2022, um, something like that, or no, maybe even 2021. Yeah, 2021. Because yeah, aligns with relevant events. So late 2021, I encountered kind of my first couple brushes with death in my adult life. I'm not sure if I mentioned it before on the podcast or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea. I completely forget what I've ever said on here ever. So bear with me. Um, so I forget which one came first. I honestly, the years kind of all blend together. So the first one that was closer to me was my uncle Andy. He passed away due to complications from COVID. Um, this was 2021. There was vaccines available and whatever, and some people, like, he had like some serious health problems. So not with the vaccines or whatever, but like he had MS and a host of other issues, diabetes, and if he caught COVID, it would not be good for him. So, and his like doctor told him as such. So he, whatever your opinion is on the vaccine or not, he was unvaccinated, didn't wear masks or anything like that, didn't socially distance himself, didn't like try to avoid COVID basically. And he ended up getting really sick for a kind of a protracted amount of time, probably like 3-4 months, and then eventually dying. So that was kind of my first really, like, someone a family member dying, I guess. Like, I've had other people in my life pass away before that. But this was like my own, like, I was related to him. Not really, like, he was married into the family, so like I wasn't like actually, like, I don't have any of his health conditions or anything like that. But still, like, I grew up with him. Like, I grew up visiting him and my Aunt Nancy and everyone else in Pennsylvania. So that's when we flew out to Pennsylvania for the funeral. And my wife, I think then fiance, I don't think we were married yet. Um, Met the rest of my extended family in Pennsylvania. So then a short time later, or before or after, I forget, to be honest. Like, if it was these two deaths were like boom boom, like pretty back in, um, maybe it was after, I don't know, I forget. So my friend Spud passed away from cancer in 2021, and we kind of knew that he had cancer. Like, he had known before, a couple of years before, and it was in remission or whatever. And um, but then, yeah, I guess it got worse, and treatment didn't work, and he died. So that was really sad, because he left behind a just a beautiful small family. Like, he literally just had a child with his wife, and that really dug me. Like, that was like, oh man, that is terrifying. Of like, I saw myself in, like, he was my training partner. He was like, we did jujitsu for years at that point together. Um, I'd been in Las Vegas for, yeah, probably 3 years at that point. So yeah, I known him, I trained with him, and I think I rolled with him probably a couple weeks before he passed away. Which was, yeah, it was crazy sudden. It's funny, he probably, due to the cancer, he was kind of, I don't know, when I rolled with him, I don't know, was uncertain of himself, or wasn't totally in control. He like poked my eye or whatever, and I kind of gave him shit in the group chat, but I think he took it in stride, and I don't think that was really, I don't, I think guys roasting each other is just part of how we show love to each other. So I don't feel bad about that or whatever, but like, that could have probably been due to his degrading condition. So, but yeah, things happen in jiu-jitsu. Anyways, um, so yeah, Spud died, and that really shook me, because I was like, wow, this is like, I'm about to enter into this next. That's the phase I want to enter into. That I'm on the doorstep on, of like, about to get married, and pretty soon after that have a kid. So I kind of, I think sometime New Year's ish, or Christmas time ish, late 2021, I woke up and I had these weird, like, I don't know, just a weird feeling of like dizziness, and like, yeah, it just, I had like a kind of a yeah, a bout of dizziness, I guess, is the most concerning symptom. I just felt weird, so went to the ER. Wasn't anything. Checked my heart, all that. It was fine. And then the next, I don't know, couple weeks, like, I really got spooked by that. I was like, oh, why do I feel dizzy, and what's going on? And I did a full workup with a couple of cardiologists over the next couple months, and they didn't find anything. The one kind of spooked me a little bit, because I have a weird rhythm, but that could indicate that I had a heart attack before or whatever. But turns out it's nothing. Like, both, I've had multiple cardiologists sign off on me, and yeah, but I still couldn't shake this feeling, or like this overly, I guess it's anxiety. Like, that I had to start seeing. Started seeing a therapist, and then started talking about it, and started talking with multiple different therapists, like with different therapy modalities. I've done just regular talk therapy. I've done uh, fuck, I forget what the other one is. Brain spotting, which is kind of like an interesting, like, you use your eyes to like kind of hone in on certain memories and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting. I think it helped. And I also did hypnotherapy with Dom the hypnotist, his team, and then I also did. I've also seen a couple of other therapists, just in seeking, trying to throw the kitchen sink at this problem. And I was very resistant. I was very hesitant to the idea of getting on medication, like the whole time. Because I was like, oh, I just need to work harder at this thing. I just need to, I don't know, just have a like hashtag grind set mentality. It's my mentality, bro. And like, like I exercised every day. Like, pulling back from it now, I'm like, okay, I exercised every day. I have a job. I have a supportive environment. I see my friends every day. I see my wife every day. Like, I see her throughout the day, and I have a great relationship with my wife. I have great relationships with everyone. There's no real stressors in my life. Why am I unhappy? Like, why? Like, my life is so good. Why am I so anxious about it? And like, I kind of dove into like different reasons why, and pulling up childhood stuff and whatnot with all the different therapists. Because everyone has childhood stuff. Like, no matter how, like, I was raised by great, I had a top, I don't know, 1% childhood experience of like just upper middle class, great school, great education, great loving parents. I had no trauma to speak of. But still, yeah, I had a lot of anxiety. And after talking through with all these therapists, I've identified that, oh yeah, I probably had anxiety throughout my whole life. I just didn't have a label for it. There were times where I thought I was going to die, other times, right? Like, I've been, yeah, had different points where got really, I've had like panic attacks, primarily is like the main factor, like the debilitating factor was I had this elevated level of just a certain elevated level of like energy, or just feeling I don't know, uncertain about the future, I guess. And I've been able to work hard at that, and like, it's probably was adaptive to some degree, right? Like, the there's a book called Only the Paranoid Survive, right? So it was adaptive evolutionarily, this system and whatnot. The hippocampus and fear and whatnot, it was adaptive at some point, because, like, if you were fearful of every little rustle in the bush or whatever, you probably survived. You probably had to jump on whatever was trying to eat you coming out of the woods, and you could escape, versus other people who were lollygagging or whatever probably didn't, right? So, but in current society, we don't have a lot of things to really worry about day to day, right? So, yeah, come, I guess, up until, say, October last year, I had another, like, there were several, I don't know, probably a panic attack a week or anxiety attack a week probably through most of last year. Let's call it that. Couple like a big events, like got married. We went to Europe, and I was really anxious leading up to that because I always had this thought in my head of like, what if I need help? What if I have a heart attack, or what if I have a stroke or whatever? Like, my brain was caught in these loops of like thinking about the worst case scenario over and over and over again, and kind of magnified the likelihood of that happening, even though it's very unlikely to happen, given my age and health status and, everything else. And I've had multiple doctors sign off on all my different, like my major systems of like my neck arteries look good. And because I was concerned about that. I was like, okay, like there are strokes in jiu-jitsu. Like people do have strokes and like die or become paralyzed or whatever, right? Like that's a thing that can happen, but it's a very small chance. Or people die of heart attacks from too much, like exerting themselves too much, or have heat stroke because, we live in Vegas in a fucking desert. Like there's all the kinds of things that like my mind would kind of jump to the end conclusion on, and would just think, oh, that's totally going to happen to me. And I need to like be prepared for this terrible thing happening. So I think so basically my wife, she's amazing. And so after like the last, ER trip in October sometime, she was like, hey, like we need to like try something else. Like you've done all this different types of talk therapy. Like we need to like look into, something else that can help. And that's probably medication. I was very, very hesitant, because it's serious business. Like, I don't do recreational drugs for that reason. I don't have or very rarely even like smoke weed, or very rarely drink. I value my sober mind, very much. And like adding a drug in that mixture, a daily drug that I'm dependent on. I can't just go cold turkey on this thing. I need to, if I were to go off, I would have to wean myself off. I'm now dependent on this thing every day. That just didn't sit well with me, and didn't sit well with like the messaging that I received at the time, right? And this is where like social media is so it's a double-edged sword, right? Like it's great for spreading information, but it's also good for spreading misinformation and like not intentionally disinformation on this topic, but people don't fucking understand that people's brains work differently. Like whatever influencers are like, oh, you just need sunlight and exercise and healthy food, and like there's always like these things always like fix it. It's like, no, like I was doing all of that. I was eating relatively healthy. I was like I was like I competed, and like I maintain a relatively healthy body weight. Yes, I'm probably, yes, more fat than I should be. But I'm an athlete. I fight 2 hours a day. I'm more consistent with lifting weights now, but But yeah, I occasionally lift weights and I was working a lot for just white knuckling life, basically. So then I finally saw this, I guess, nurse practitioner, like psychiatrist, nurse practitioner. And he was like, hey, like, yeah, sounds like you have anxiety. Here's Lexapro 5 milligrams. And the first month I didn't take it. I was like, I filled the prescription and was like, I just kind of looked at it. I was like, do I really want to go on this thing? Do I really want to like get on this train and not get off? Like it's kind of a one-way street. And of course, being anxious, I read all the side effects, and it's like, oh man, this is serious business, and I have to like tell all my doctors that I am on Lexapro. I was proud to not be on any medications and say, hey, no, I'm not on any medications whenever I saw a doctor. And I was like, I don't have any chronic conditions or whatever, right? So, I schedule another appointment. Like I don't take the first month, and I schedule another appointment. I'm like, all right, how do we can we talk through more side effects or whatever? He kind of like badgered me. He kind of like bullied me. He was like, hey, look, man, like it sounds like this is a chronic thing. This is a thing that you are dealing with every day, and you're not happy. Like life isn't going well, even though everything else should be going well. Like you have a great wife, a great job, great activities, sport, friends, like everything, like family's healthy, everything is going right. But you're not happy. So what's going, like, this thing can help you. I was like, okay. So, I so got off the call with him, and I don't know, the thing that I think what turned me was, I thought about my brother, my brother and my friend who have ADHD, and they need their ADHD medication to operate. Like their brain does not have the right chemistry, for lack of a better word, to operate in the current world that we live in, right? All of this is, of course, it's wetware, it's biology. Back in the day, yeah, they could have been an asset in figuring out how tons of different things work, or like their attention goes 10 different ways, and that was probably helpful at some point, right? But now it isn't. It's not helpful, and they need to be able to focus on one task at a time, and kind of sit and work on a computer and be a productive member of society, right? So I thought about them, and I was like, okay, I don't blame them. It's not a personal moral failure for their brain having a different chemical makeup of how it works. They just got a weird roll of the dice, and it's not their fault. Like I don't blame them for having to take a ADHD medication. So I thought through that for myself. I was like, because that was the hang up. It was all the messaging from social media, everything, all the stuff that comes from the fitness world, jiu-jitsu in particular. That's why I'm making this fucking podcast, is because y'all motherfuckers, you need to sit the fuck down when you're talking about mental health and you claiming that just these 5 easy steps of just sunlight, just exercise and food and whatever and friends, and I did all that. I fucking did all that, and my life is fucking great. And I still was afraid of like my life, like something happening every day. Every day I had to try to like, I meditate like that. That's a beneficial part of this practice of like this journey is like, I basically meditated every day, and this medication, once I started taking it, is basically meditation on steroids. Meditation, it just helps you focus, right? You just focus on your breathing. You train your brain to just, we're so fragmented as people in the society. Our brains are going 10 different directions. We want to scroll on social media. Then we want to check. We scroll on our phone while we're watching TV, while like doing whatever, talking to our partner. Like we're doing all kinds of things at the same time, right? Just because our attention's fragmented. There's like very just different things pulling our attention. And meditation teaches you to like, and it's a very sympathetic response. Sympathetic as in sympathetic nervous system, as in fight or flight. Like we are ramped up. We are constantly going. And meditation teaches you, hey, let's get into parasympathetic. Let's relax. Let's just focus on one thing, just your breath or a feeling or a sound, and just focus on that. Just train your brain to focus on one thing and have it not focus on anything else. Like, or other things can come up, but you can just kind of, you no longer identify with the thought itself or the emotion itself. You can pop out of these thoughts, and there you are an observer of things. You're not necessarily there's things happening in your brain, and there's thoughts and emotions and things like that, but you can be an objective just observer, sitting back and just letting things happen, letting your body do its thing. So yes, the meditation that helped, but there was still like a baseline level of anxiety that I couldn't, like, I was white knuckling to manage. So then I got on Lexapro, and that was the biggest lever, the biggest factor that managed my anxiety. It was the biggest key, the biggest like relief. And I feel fucking great now. And it took me 2 years and a lot of different therapists talking about my feelings and talking. I thinking, oh, I can just think my way out of this, right? At some point, like, I was spending so much time. At some points I had 3 therapy appointments per week, and just trying to like talk my way through this, right? I have resources. I have a good job. I have insurance. I threw everything at this. I was trying my hardest to avoid using medication, and that ended up being the single biggest lever for like the quality of my life. It's amazing. I don't know how we even stumbled across this as a society, but I don't even believe in God, but thank God for the chemical, whatever process enabled people to come up with these medications, it's amazing. It's modern. It's modern medicine. Because now I'm not white knuckling life. I'm actually enjoying life, like really enjoying life. Even like a couple months ago, I was still I still had tinges of, or maybe even like, yeah, a couple months ago, I had, like creeping feelings, like much lower, much like the volume on the anxiety was much lower and I could control it. But yeah, I told my, psychiatrist that, and he was like, oh, let's like, you're like, we started on I guess the kid dose of Lexapro, right? Like the 5 milligrams. So he bumped me up to 10 and now I feel great. Like everything is crystal clear. I don't worry about different weird feelings in my body anymore. I just can chill out, relax, and if something it would be wrong with my body, I would like actually wrong, I would know it. Like jiu-jitsu wise, like we're taught like it is advantageous for you to know your body very well. It is advantageous to be embodied in your body, to move your limbs and feel where your weight is and how you're oriented at space and time and whatnot, right? So I'm very aware. I have a lot of awareness in my body. And I think that was a cause or a factor in my anxiety. Is just I know when things feel a little off, and I'm like, oh my god, this weird tightness in my chest. Oh wait, I just did push-ups. Like, yeah, there's gonna be tightness in my chest. Or I'm lifting recently now, and yeah, my body's gonna feel weird and sore. It's gonna be tight in some places, and I have to like breathe and stretch and do different things to adjust it, right? Like it's not this is the equation I've been working on for forever anyway. So yeah, anyways, so not to blame jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is very much net positive in my life. It's just that was a side effect of jiu-jitsu. People talk about side effects of things all the time. Like there's going to be pros and cons to anything. So yeah, and just certain things, different people have reached out to me like after I've started expressing my mental health journey on Instagram and social media. They've reached out to me and thanked me and have like thought about it for themselves of like, hey, like, am I doing okay? So I guess that's what I'm doing this episode for is, hey, like, don't let some fuckhead on social media tell you you're not good enough. Like you tell you that you're morally, like, it's a moral failure on your part for not having good mental health, right? Like don't let somebody tell you that you're not doing enough for your mental health. You probably are. Like you're fucking stressed. Like you have bills to pay. You're an adult. If you're in the 6 a.m. crew, high probability you have a child. Like you have a lot of shit going on. Like you probably should talk about your feelings with somebody who isn't involved in your life. Like, yes, like Lark is amazing. She's my wife. Love her very much. But like, I like, part of me was like feeling bad. That was burdening her every day, telling her about my anxiety. And like that's my burden to bear. But she's like my partner in this. So like, yeah, it's amazing that she did that for me. But it's good to talk to a disinterested third party, a person who like is just talking to you and doesn't know anything about your life, and you formulating it in a certain way, like you presenting it to them, helps you think through things, and they reflect back on you like, hey, what did you think about this thing, or how did that, like the classic, like, how did it make you feel, or whatever, right? That it's just a space to work on you, like that's what their professional job is to do, is to take on your shit and they manage it for them. Like, also thank God, or what, whoever else is out there for therapists, because like this is a much needed profession to help people navigate their shit. And also, yeah, so don't let some like masculine gym bro who's like super insecure with themselves stare at who has podcast equipment. I have podcast equipment too. Who talks about their mental health, how they're so locked in, bro. Just lock in harder, bro. Don't let them tell you that, hey, you can't talk to somebody about your feelings, right? Like, go seek therapy. And if it's really serious, like, seek medication. Like, it's there. It, like, yes, so of course, when I was first considering medication, the stats are kind of weird. Like there's tons of side effects, or tons of potential side effects. There's also tons of potential side effects for Advil or Tylenol or antibiotics, like things you take every day. There's tons of potential side effects for those. But do you like encounter them? Do you like, it's a roll of the dice, right? Everything is a roll of the dice. Any surgery you have is a roll of the dice. Like, okay, do you bleed out on the table? Do you have some weird blood clotting disorder that nobody, like, you haven't tested for or whatever, right? Like, you take chances every day. You get in your car, you drive to wherever, your place of work or jiu-jitsu or whatever. Those things have side effects too, right? Like, you're rolling the dice every day on things that may or may not kill you. So, or may or may not degrade your life, whatever. Anyways, you train jiu-jitsu, and you like tap or don't tap, right? Like that's a side effect of jiu-jitsu. And you get injured or hurt, or something weird happens, and you slip and slide, and you whatever, bonk your head, and you get a concussion and whatnot. Like, all these things can happen. So of course I read into the litany of side effects, potential in these different mental health medications. And I guess my rationale for not particularly worrying about them is that, like, the benefit outweighs the risk, right? Like, if this can give me my life back, then yeah, okay, like, I don't know, weird shit out, like, not, I don't know, low probability shit, sure, I'll take the chance on that. So yeah, and we only know about all these side effects because these are like the most studied drugs in the world, right? Like, millions of people are on these things, and your neighbor probably is on it, or your friend, or, you know, like, whoever, like, it's more common than you would, I'm talking you, gym bro, who thinks that we just need sunshine and clean air and exercise and ice baths and saunas and whatnot to maintain our mental health. Just okay. Let me get on this again. Let me go on a tangent here. If you're dependent on such a, like, 3 hours a day of sauna, ice bath, exercise, sunlight. Like, you're dependent on that just as much as I'm dependent on this pill. like what's easier, right? And what's more accessible to people? Some people can't do, okay, call it, like, be very generous. They do a 20-minute workout, 20-minute sauna, 20-minute ice bath, or whatever, 20 minutes outside. Call it an hour. An hour a day. You are dependent on that. Your mental health is dependent on that schedule not being broken every day for you to white knuckle it through life. So for me, I feel fucking great. Yes, I feel better when I exercise. Cool. But I have a better baseline, a higher level of serotonin. I'm on an SSRI, so prevents serotonin from being reuptaken in the synapse, and I feel fucking great. So, like, I don't know, like, just question the dependency argument. You're dependent on the food and water every day. Like, I'm dependent on one more thing, just a pill that I need to take. And you take how many pills and how many supplements that Joe Rogan recommended that, like, have unstudied side effects that you have no idea may or may not be happening. Who knows? Like, right. Like, the drugs, the quote unquote big pharma, they spend a lot of money to, like, figure out if things are going to kill people or not. And yes, they make mistakes, and yes, they probably are motivated by capitalism to pursue profit, and they're, like, people dying and whatever, drug recalls and lawsuits and whatnot. That's a speeding ticket for them, right? Sure, the fines are a speeding ticket, but overall, they're a net benefit to society. Like, so Lexapro is the brand name, but I get the generic, and that costs me $1 a month. Like, big pharma isn't getting, like, that's, of course, that's through my insurance. Maybe it's $30 a month, a subscription model, right? A recurring, like, dollar from me, and then they charge my insurance. I don't know how much. I have no idea. But, yeah, it's a generic drug. It's well studied. It's the most, like, one of the most studied drugs in the world. We know way more about this than jacked the jacked powder or Four Locos or any other crazy shit that you may or may not have taken in your life. So, or your current supplement regime, right? Who knows? So one more thing is, let's see, where was I going with that? Okay, so last important caveat is, it can take time. Like, all this whole mental health system, it sucks. Like, it takes a long time, like weeks, to get in to see a therapist. It takes weeks to go and see a psychiatrist. Like, you book an appointment and they're booked out for, see you next month. Like, you might be, like, in crisis now, or in, like, feeling like you're white knuckling stuff now, but you have to figure out if your insurance works with them or not, or whatever, right? Like, there's all these adult things that you have to manage. Don't give up. Like, it's worth pursuing. It's worth following up on. It's worth doing that for yourself, because you will be happier later. If you work on yourself, it is an insane ROI. Like, every dollar invested in your mental health, you have to live with yourself for the rest of your life. You have to be your own best friend. Kevin Rocket, I always refer to him, and like my freshman year of college, roommate, and back then, yeah, he was wise beyond his years. So yeah, don't give up, please. People need you. People depend on you. Medication route, from what I read, and you will read this as well, it can take a couple tries to get the right combination of medications for you. I guess I was lucky and got the first medication that I tried worked. But it may take a couple tries. Like, you have to iterate. Like, just think you're, like, with anything in life, it's not going to be perfect the first time, right? Like, the first try, you try out jiu-jitsu. You're a white belt. You have no idea what you're doing. Your first armbar isn't going to look pretty, right? You're probably not even going to finish your first armbar. They're going to escape. And you're not going to finish your first 10 arm bars or even 100 arm bars. It'll take a while for you to develop a skill. Same thing, like, you're developing the skill, you're attuning to your environment, your internal environment, what medications work well for you and what don't. And you're working with a professional who does this all day, every day, with hundreds of clients, hundreds of patients. So they have tons of experience. Lean on them, please. You're taking weirder stuff, probably, if you're an athlete. You're taking weirder supplements, less tested, less efficacious. If you're suffering, give therapy and or medication a shot. At least therapy. Like, everyone has shit. Everyone can talk about things that affect them to this day, and how they interact with the world. So anyways, please take care of yourselves. Take care of your mental health. Physical health goes without saying. Like, my audience is probably mostly jiu-jitsu folks, so you're taking care of that already. But yeah, like, figure out a way to be happy with yourself and be content, I guess. And don't white knuckle it through life. If it feels like every day is a struggle, that's an indication you might want to change something. All right. End of episode.